Welcome to the RetroBlasting Archive and Production Studio. Now I know yesterday we gave you a studio tour part 1, but that's not exactly how I envisioned that video going. So I thought today what I'd do is give you a tour of the entire studio, personally. So I'm going to pick up the camera and take you all over the studio today. We're going to retread some of the ground that we covered in the original live stream, but I'm going to show you everything. So let's get started. So when you enter the RetroBlasting archive, the first thing that you will see when you open the door down into the studio are some nice movie posters. So we get Superman the movie, which is an original. You can see the fold lines. And then we get a nice reprint of the original Raiders poster with the Bernardo Del Carpio bullwhip above it. And its neighbor is the Temple of Doom original one sheet with, I believe this was the Noble Collection's replica of the Thuggy knife above that. And then right here at the corner we have some Buck Rogers autographs that I've collected over the years and had framed. Gotta love Aaron Gray. Good stuff. Now when we turn the corner, the first thing you'll notice is this sign that says RetroBlasting Headquarters. That was given to me by a very good friend, Dean Hepler, for the purposes of this studio. And I'm really excited that it now adorns the kind of entryway to our studio. Now along the walls, I have plans here in these blank areas for some framed items that I don't have framed yet. But I've got a little work done down here so far. This is a Palmer Firefly print that I've had for a long time. So I wanted to get that put up there. And then over here we have this killer Transformers Arc Autobots print that I also had framed. I bought that last year at Dragon Con. And then down here we have the Larry Hama autographs that I had done on some G.I. Joe cover scans that I had done for my original collection. There's issue number 63 with his autograph on it. And then here is the famous Star Wars Circus poster. It's a reprint, but I like reprints more than originals because I don't have to be as careful with them. I can get them framed and not have to worry about special framing, everything like that. I have a hard time sometimes paying, $500 or $600 for a piece of paper when I can get it reprinted nicely and it looks really good. Okay, now right here we are greeted by some more autographs. So this is my Star Trek Wrath of Khan collection. It was kind of cool because I was wondering when I was doing this how I was going to work in the movie Enterprise, and fortunately Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner did a special signing of the movie Enterprise, and then I was able to put this iconic shot from Star Trek II above it. And then the real pill was trying to find a Star Trek II shot of DeForest Kelley, because while he was a power signer, they always wore those red uniforms, so it's really hard to track down a Star Trek II or a specific movie shot. And then here's my pride and joy, which is my autographs of the cast of Empire Strikes Back, the heroes. It was nice to get Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher to personalize those. Carrie Fisher, signed characteristically in a very bold hand. And then the Harrison Ford, at the time that I was looking for a Harrison Ford autograph, I wanted to make sure it was authentic, and he wasn't personalizing, nor was he signing this photo at that time. But I was lucky because I was able to find the Master Replicas plaque for the signature edition of the Millennium Falcon, which is very difficult to forge, so that's his. So I matted it in with the photo that I preferred, which is the same photo that's on the Kenner cardback. I really wanted to find the Kenner cardback photo for Mark Hamill, but they don't blow that one up that big. So, and then here we have the Efx Helmet for The Empire Strikes Back. This is Luke's EFX version, EFX licensed helmet for The Empire Strikes Back. You can tell by the extra weathering, the little nose guard, and the different microphone. And then here we have Luke's weapons, which correspond to being right underneath Luke Skywalker. This is the Master Replica's lightsaber. And this is a fan-made Luke Bespin blaster, which has subtle differences from the Han Solo blasters in Empire. And then, of course, for Han Solo, we have the Master Replica's Han Solo Empire Strikes Back blaster. And then for Princess Leia, I decided to do something a little different. I wanted to, I didn't want to get that Rebel blaster because even though it's in photos with her, she never actually uses it in the movie. So I thought the best way to fix that problem is to just have the iconic Princess Leia blaster underneath her photo. All right, now as we pan over here, this is the editing nook. This is where all the RetroBlasting videos are edited. I have my Lunchbox collection up here. G.I. Joe, Dukes of Hazzard, Pac-Man, Rambo, Buck Rogers. That's where Broken Vader sits when he doesn't want to talk to me. That's a vintage R2-D2 cookie jar. These are my metal Star Wars lunchboxes. That's an original Graflex flash gun that one would have used to make Luke's lightsaber prop from the original trilogy. And this is another Sigma vintage Star Wars cookie jar. And then down here you can see in the background my little stuffed animal that kind of looks like Hobbs likes to sleep against some Captain Power video cassettes. But this is a nice setup. You have the Mac here where I edit, and then the PC where I do some transcoding, things like that. So both computers work in service of RetroBlasting. This is the podcasting microphone where I tend to do the Clobberin' Time podcast. And then right here, we have Kylie Corner. This is, you might have noticed that sometimes I wear a Kylie Minogue t-shirt in some of my videos. Some people have asked questions about that. In 1990, I moved to the UK, and I lived in Surrey for the better part of 3.5, 4 years. And that was around the time that Kylie Minogue was a really popular music star. And so I was listening to her music on the radio. And then when I got back to the United States, I had no idea that Kylie Minogue's records weren't sold here. So it kind of became this just niche, nostalgic interest. Every time I hear Kylie Minogue's voice, I think of living in the UK. I miss living in the UK. And so that's why I've been a lifelong fan of hers, because every time I hear her voice, no matter what song she's singing, whether it's new or old, I think back to a time I really enjoyed in my life. So not to get too sentimental, but hopefully that explains it. So let's see. Down here we have a little bit of a problem. That's a pile of soundtracks that I need to get some shelving for. The studio is a work in progress, so we're working on that. Now, this door right here, this actually opens up to auxiliary storage. So this is where all of the toys are that I couldn't get displayed, and also all of the boxes for the toys that are in the display room. So as you can see right here, we have the Buck Rogers Command Center and the Star Trek Mego Enterprise Bridge. I just didn't have room for them in the display room, so I've left them in here until I need them. And then some modern toys that aren't going to ever be on display in there, but I need to hold them for videos that I'm working on. So this is auxiliary storage at RetroBlasting. And then over here is the studio. That Darth Vader in the corner, that standee was actually acquired by me in the 90s as a teenager from a video store after the promotion for One Last Time ended. And I was able to bring it home, and I've had it for 22 years. So I propped it up in the studio because it makes for a nice sound bounce in the corner. And then this is where we film our videos. We have everything soundproofed for the most part. We're still tinkering with it. But this is a working studio. This is where Melinda and Aaron do the Dreamland RetroBlasting podcast. And then I do most of my work, of course, here in a chair that would normally be right here. But we're in the middle of working on some other things right now for RetroBlasting, so it's always in chaos. All right, there's Carrie Fisher. Right here is another storage closet. This was originally supposed to be for camera equipment, but now we actually have had some toys, as you can see at the far end. We've had some toys spill over there. We got to figure out how they're going to get integrated into videos and which ones of them need to go away, things like that. There are the Columbia Hoth Echo Base jackets hanging there. I keep them down here just because it feels the most appropriate. All right. So you've seen part of this room before. This is the toy display room, but I am going to take us away from here for a minute because I know I spent a lot of time in the live stream on that. So I thought where I'd start is right here in the movie review room. It's where I put in cartoons and I study them and take notes, and then it's also where I sit in front of the television when I'm doing a cartoon review. So when you walk into this room, you're greeted by Crow and Tom Servo from Mystery Science Theater, a Ghostbusters Proton Pack, which is the one that you saw years ago in my Proton Pack overview. And then down here we have Sektar's The Hive, and I'll talk more about that in a minute because I have a plan for that. It's not going to just sit on the floor here. On the other side, we have the Night Raven hanging from the ceiling. This is the same Night Raven that I restored in the video series. And we have a Terrordrome that was donated to us by Stephen Maybe, and we're going to be restoring that this year. So look forward to that. This is going to be our big 2018 restoration like the flag was for 2017. So we're going to be doing that soon. Down below we have some flying fighters from Hasbro from when I was a kid that are still looking for a home. We've also got some pieces from the upcoming Star Trek Next Generation review. Yes, Star Trek Part 2 is on the way. We are working on it, so just stay patient. My favorite movie of all time. This poster right here for the sequel to my favorite movie of all time. This poster was actually acquired when I lived in England. I got it at the Museum of Moving Image at their gift shop. And it was kind of cool because I've had this poster for 26 years now. And I bought it amongst all these original Doctor Who Daleks and Jim Henson props in this awesome museum that sadly is no longer in existence. But I still have the poster that I got from the gift shop. And even though it's a Return of the Jedi poster, I remember exactly where I got it. So it always reminds me of the Museum of Moving Image in London in Waterloo. All right, now here, you might have noticed that somebody on the live stream asked, where's your DVD collection? Well, this is not all of my Blu-rays and DVDs, but these are some of them. As I watch things down here, I just leave them down here. It's going to be a slow process bringing all of the discs down here and getting them organized. I have two pieces of furniture that I have back ordered to store all of my movies and cartoons, but they're still sold out online, so I'm waiting for them to restock these two pieces of media storage. And then one will go here, and one will go over here in this corner as well. So it'll bracket. They'll mirror each other. If I step back here for a minute, I can show you this better. So this is, for anyone asking, this is a 75-inch Sony 4K. I have a Panasonic 4K Blu-ray player attached to it, along with a PlayStation 4 and a region-free Sony player in case I encounter any movies or cartoons that are from other countries. That way I'm never limited as to what I can watch for the web channel. I like to keep Star Wars stuff in here, so the modern stuff that you saw from the Rogue One videos is hung up in here, so the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter. And then this is kind of the Imperial side of the room, and this is the Rebel side of the room, so we'll start with the Rebels. That's the other metal lunchbox that I have from Star Wars, the vintage lunchbox. That is a still sealed Atari 2600 Empire Strikes Back cartridge. And then I have the modern Snowspeeder and the Power of the Force 2 A-Wing alongside the Gentle Giant, ESB Luke, and Jedi Lukes, which were both acquired for me, thankfully, by Seth Hastings at Plastic Galaxy. He knew that I was looking for those, and so he tracked those down, which was very cool of him, and then I bought those from him. And then down here is the Legacy Falcon which we've talked about. Melinda found these really cool glass tables. So underneath is another snow speeder with Wedge and Dak in it, and then the 2 Tauntauns. That is my childhood plush Ewok, Wicket. My old blaster lays under there until I figure out what to do with it. It's the one I used to costume with at conventions. And then that is the Star Wars Celebration Europe exclusive Tauntaun plushie, which may make an appearance in the near future in an upcoming Star Wars Follies, so stay tuned for that. And then over here, there's the Power of the Jedi TIE Bomber, along with the Gentle Giant Bosk IG-88 and Boba Fett. And then the Amazon exclusive Vintage Collection Slave 1 with the big wing tie above it. And then below that we have the, I guess it's the Legacy Collection AT-AT, the huge AT-AT. And next to it is the Black Series ATST that came out last year around the time that Rogue One toys hit the shelves. Underneath is Melinda's Hyperfirm Stormtrooper blaster that she used when she did Bespin Escape Princess Leia, the Rogue One Black Series Stormtrooper helmet, and then these guys right here are awaiting being hung on the ceiling. I have an avid interest in World War II, specifically the Allies, and most specifically the Royal Air Force. So these are, from the right, the Spitfire Mark I, Mark II, the P-40 Tomahawk from the Flying Tigers, and the Messerschmitt 109E. The reason I have that is because the eventual plan is to have this guy shooting that guy down. All right. Let's do G.I. Joe, shall we? All right, so if you come in here, first thing you'll notice is I have the EFX sabers over the door. So Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker. And then at the top of the case, we have the G.I. Joe headquarters with a few of my original childhood straight arms manning the HQ. The Mobat and the Vamp are inside defending. The Dragonfly's on the helicopter stand, helicopter landing pad. And then we also have a nice little piece of Action Force right here that comes with the Panther. And I'll show you that in a minute. All right, so the way I did this was, you know, G.I. Joe's, it's all about the figures. So I'm just gonna kind of back off a little bit and show you some highlights. Let's see if I can dial down on the, let's dial down a little bit there. There we go. So right here we have Quarrel from Action Force. I picked her up recently with her motorcycle. And then there is the aforementioned Panther. That is so cool looking. I'd love to get the troop carrier, but they go for so much money. Now, G.I. Joe's, you know, some of these are from when I was a kid, and some of these are ones I picked up later. But this is, aside from Super Soldier up there, or Super Trooper, I think it's Super Soldier. Aside from him, these are generally everybody from the first 2 years. I didn't get very exact with years because you have to maintain your real estate. So then down here, we kind of go into, you know, the next run of Joes. Always got to have more than a few eels, of course. You got to have a little bit of troop building going on when you're doing a display. The Bats, Crimson Guard. The Trouble Bubble was actually a recent acquisition. I never had a flight pod, and it took me forever to finally get one. Not because I didn't like it, just it's one of those things. Serpentor and Robo Cobra Commander. And then there's Chuckles. I have a soft spot for him. Didn't have him growing up, but kind of love him now. And then we have the Moray, and I admit, this grouping of figures right here is kind of a catch-all. These are the guys that I don't really know how to organize yet because I don't have a lot of later Joes, and so it's kind of a smattering. It's a smattering of later Joes. and then the Rattler. Now the bottom level I reserve for both my Bigfoots. So there's the actual Bigfoot and then the MCB1 Bigfoot, which you've probably seen a video about. And then the rest of this shelf is devoted to the Fisher-Price adventure people, including the Alpha Probe, which I always thought was so cool growing up, but I never had. And we'll be doing a Fisher-Price adventure people video in the near future. Okay, now, dehumidification is always important in a collector studio, so you want to make sure that the humidity is at a consistent rate. So I have those in here until we figure out a more permanent solution. This is a dedicated HVAC system in here that's not tied to the rest of the house, but the humidity still seems to be a problem in the summer, so we have these to regulate it, but we're working on an integrated solution. Now, here is the USS Flag. We will be doing a sticker repair on this very soon, so please don't shoot me down about the stickers. We'll be getting the stickers fixed. That's the last step. We'll start from the bow, or sorry, we'll start from the stern. So there's the fantail deck, and underneath, you see the lighting setup we have. We use Lego lights, USB Lego lights. They work real well. And we have an entire Sky Striker and 2 Skyhawks under there. And then directly above it, we have the Tomahawk Chopper. Now I set this up to be a tribute to the Snake Eyes trilogy in the comic. So this would have been the climax of the Snake Eyes trilogy, except Scarlet should be on a stretcher, but I just didn't have the heart to do that to her, so I let her sit up. And then you see that we have one Sky Striker that's just come in for a landing. Please ignore the fact that the Tomahawk is right there. Again, this is a display. It's not a functional aircraft carrier. Now up here, you might notice that Bombshell is up there. I just kind of put her up there for fun. She's a newer Joe, but I like the variety, so I just put her up there just for kicks. My buddy Matt Swafford was kind enough to get me a few shipwrecks to man the different parts of the flag. Slowly but surely, I'll get a few more. My childhood mainframe and dial tone are inside the conning tower. They're driving or sailing the flag. Down underneath the hull, we have the APC. That's my childhood APC with my childhood Duke and his army of green shirts. But they better watch out because Storm Shadow is about to pounce. That is my childhood Storm Shadow. And this is my childhood Hovercraft, which has a special place. It's got like a front row seat in the display. That includes my childhood Snake Eyes, Cutter, Spirit, and an Airborne, just because, I don't know, he and Spirit, I think the reason I put them together was because they were both in issue number 31. So I put them together on this display. And then finally we have a Sky Striker taking off from a very cool acrylic stand that's designed by a guy on eBay. He does all of these toy stands. You can get them from him on eBay, and then you kind of put them together yourself. But it really adds a lot to the end of the deck. So there is the USS Flag. And eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the hive from Sectars put here, where this Memphis Belle poster is, and I'm going to have the hive bugs from Sectars flying all around it. So this will be sort of a Sectars corner. All right. Now if you back into the main toy display room, you'll see a mirroring that I did with the FX Sabers. The FX Sabers are there, and then if you look up, you have the vintage counterparts, the red and yellow Force lightsabers from Kenner, that sort of create this kind of mirroring effect. All right. So the top of this case is RoboForce, which you've just seen me do a video about. Directly below that is my small, humble collection of Starcom. I plan to do a larger Starcom video this year. I'm hoping to shoot a lot of it in May if Yojo Outlet and Museum Center will be kind enough to allow me to shoot their collection, which would be awesome. I'd like to travel to their headquarters and do that. Below that, I have the Playmates era Star Trek figures. These are the next generation guys. And then you have Deep Space Nine, and then the original series. And we'll be doing that video very soon. We're working on that right now. Below that, we have some old friends of Chris Rissmiller. He was kind enough to give us his mask collection about 5 years ago, and they are still intact. I think the only vehicle in here that isn't Chris's is the Manta, which I bought separately. But other than that, these are all from a childhood collection. They're all childhood survivors, and I have meticulously put them back together. As a matter of fact, the Piranha here is a hybrid of Chris Rissmiller's and my childhood Piranha. So our two collections came together to save themselves. All right, so below that we have the Star Wars Kenner Micro Collection. This is the Empire Strikes Back themed stuff. There's my childhood freeze chamber. And the Falcon with all the figures. And then the entire Hoth spread. It's a shame they never did an AT-AT. Now below this we have the Batman Animated Series shelf. I love Batman the Animated Series. We will be doing a video about this toy line in the future. All right. Top shelf, we have the Ninja Turtles and the Sewer playset, as well as the blimp. Now the blimp's Zeppelin envelope, whatever you call it, that's deflated and it's behind the Sewer playset. And then we have the Technodrome. We also have the Star Ears playset at the very end of this. We will be doing a Star Ears video in the future, but I do have the playset right now. So that's the complete Star Ears playset, the main Star Ears base. Immediately under that, we have She-Ra and the Horde. So that's Hordak and his minions surrounding She-Ra and Swift Wind. Here are the original Turtles, the core characters, along with a few personal favorites, such as Usagi Yojimbo and the redone Shredder, which I like better, the one that came later in the line. Under that, we have Dick Tracy, which you saw us do a video on recently. And there's the Shadow hiding right there, and Invisible Shadow. At some point, I might get past 1993 and do a Shadow video for you guys, because I do love the character. And then Cops and Crooks from Hasbro. I just acquired these. I need to get some vehicles, but these guys are all complete, and I'll be doing a Cops video at some point. Now below this, we have the Legend of the Lone Ranger line from Gabriel, including the rare mail-away cardboard playset. And then to the immediate right is Gabriel's Zorro. It's the only character I have in the line so far. And then if we move right, we get to all of the Kenner Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark collection. And behind there are the Temple of Doom figures on a riser, just to be in the same group. All right, below that we have Willow from Tonka with the Aborsisk. In the middle, we have a ragtag group of guys. We've got the Black Knight from Dragon Riders of the Styx. And then we have a little representation from Clash of the Titans, Harry Hamlin, Thalo, and the Pegasus. Those are the Toynami Thundar figures. Those are Melinda's. And we have those there. Even though they're newer, we have them there because they're the only Thundar toys that really have ever been made. And then Blackstar. We have to do a figure review of these guys soon. And then we have AD&D with the Fortress of Fangs and Tiamat. We did a video on this a few years back. And next to them, we have some people that we haven't done a video on yet, the cast of Crystar. All right. Now at the top of this shelf, we have the Masters of the Universe castles. So we have Snake Mountain, Point Dread, Castle Grayskull, Sorceress still looking on. You see King Randor there. He's very important. And then we have the Castle of Lions from Panache Place for Voltron. It's so great when a playset folds up because that way I have more real estate to work with. All right, so we have the Masters of the Universe shelf. Now here, I have a lot more Masters of the Universe characters than I do shelf space. So I had to make some decisions, and I decided again to go with core and characters that were the most impressive. So some iconic vehicles, like you can kind of see Attack Track parked under there. Orko, of course. Skeletor and He-Man on their cats. I wanted to make sure Scareglow was in there because it's Scareglow and he's awesome. Now back here's a little Easter egg. This is one of the Galaxy Warriors. I think they were from a company called Sun Gold. I got him at a Showbiz pizza place in the early 80s as a ticket prize for skee ball. So I put him in there. And yes, Faker still has his chest sticker. That's a childhood original Faker. All right, here are the Transformers you were asking about. Here's our entire original ARC crew plus Jetfire. This is a packaged Megatron that I picked up a few years ago. I just put it in the center as a centerpiece because it says Transformers and it looks cool. Here are the original miniseries Decepticons with a loose Megatron as well as a complete reflector, the Seeker Jets, Shockwave, Soundwave, all of the cassettes. Now one step below this, we have some of the secondary Transformers on display. Devastator, the second run of Seeker Jets, the Insecticons, and of course the Dinobots. We also have Perceptor back there, the Flipbots, Power Glide. Don't really know why I have Power Glide in there, but he's there. In the back, you'll see the Turbo Teen convertible model kit. It's kind of parked behind the Flipbots. I have one toy from Saber Rider and the Star Sheriffs, aka Star Musketeer Bismarck. That's going to be a long time getting that collection together to do a video. There's my childhood Daitarn 3 that I did a video about years ago. And a selection of Rock Lords, Battle Beasts from when I was a kid. Those are the only two Battle Beasts I ever had. And the Takara Chronoform Transforming Watch. That's also from when I was a kid. No gold chrome is left. All right, now down here, we have Robotech. It goes from left to right, so you're seeing it a little backwards. So you're seeing New Generation first. Genesis, Climber, Mospeda. And then right here we have Southern Cross, the Masters. And then we have the cast of the original Macross Saga with some of the minis, the Battle Pod, and an original home video store button that I got back when I was a kid. I've had that my whole life. All right, at the bottom, we have Voltron. This is the Panache Place Voltron. This particular Voltron is the one I had when I was a kid. Still in great shape, all original pieces, and the pilots that I had growing up are still inside the Lions. That's how I kept them so safe and nice. All right, and then we have the original Beast King Golion from Popey in the box. The Coffins and Tank from the Panache Place line. And we have the original Matchbox Voltron. Now, I do have the Popey Golion sword and shield in his hands because it just looks cooler that way. But they actually go inside the box next to him. That Voltron right there is actually a Matchbox Edition GB36. And I have the box for him in that storage room I showed you a little while ago. Then behind him, we have the original Japanese box GB35 Mini. And the villains of Voltron from Panache Place with the Zarkon Zapper. All right, so if we start from the top here, you can see the Return of the Jedi toys from the Kenner line. We have the Battle Wagon, which really should have been in the Ewoks line. I don't know what they were thinking. Then we have the speeder bikes, a Scout Walker, Indoor Han and Leia, and the glider, catapult, and the Ewok Village from when I was a kid. Below that, it's a Cloud City shelf. We've got the Slave 1 with the Bosk vehicle, I call it back there, the Cap 2, I believe it's called. And then we have just a lame cardboard playset for Cloud City. The Heroes of the Empire Strikes Back Cloud Car with 2 Cloud Car pilots, that's important. And you'll notice the original Yoda puppet with the 2 different Yodas. So at the top, there's the Yoda with the orange snake, light green. At the bottom, coming out of the hut, is my childhood Yoda, which was the dark green with the dark cane. Jabba's Palace also gets a shelf, of course. So that's my childhood Rancor monster next to my childhood Max Rebo band. The Luke back there is one of the rarer Jedi Knight Luke Skywalkers that has the painted hair and the molded face. Really happy about that because I hated Luke Skywalker always having nose rub. And then here are the Heroes of the Empire Strikes Back. That is another painted hair Luke Skywalker with a green lightsaber just so that it looks correct with the grouping. And here are the Skiff Guard boys. Now down here is sort of a shelf devoted to the Into the Trap moment of Return of the Jedi. We have the Y-Wing fighter, just a beautiful toy. Beautiful, beautiful toy. The Heroes of Endor. Yes, I did put a green lightsaber in Luke's hand. No, I don't care that it didn't come with it. It should have. It looks great. Lando and Nien Nunb, the B-Wing, that's my childhood original, and the A-Wing. Below that, it's kind of a Rebel Fighters and Imperial Fighters showcase. That's my original childhood battle-damaged X-Wing with my original childhood Luke Skywalker. That stand is from the same guy that did the stands for the Sky Striker. He's on eBay. He's out of Cartersville, Georgia. Can't recommend his stuff enough. Battle Damaged TIE Fighter with a mini rig, and the TIE Interceptor. On the bottom shelf, we start with the New Hope era micro collection. And that King Gorniche at the back, I did a blog about that on Facebook. So if you haven't checked us out on Facebook, I write blogs occasionally, and I tell the story of that King Gorniche for any of you who might be interested. It has kind of a storied history. It's very personal to me. We have some of the 12-inch figures. I'm hoping to get more of these as time goes on. These have been with me for over 20 years, but I just haven't picked up the rest of them. There's Boba Fett. He was a recent acquisition. And the Rebel Transport, the Flying Pickle. Yes, those are Darth Vader's arms. All right, now over here on the bottom shelf of the central cabinet, we have one of the tallest playsets in the RetroBlasting archive, not including the Hive from Sectars, but the Savage Strike headquarters from Rambo. And then we also have the Blackstar Ice Castle. Now you'll notice that there's a zip tie over the Blackstar Ice Castle's spire. That's because if you tried to press that spire all the way into the body of the castle, it would shatter the body of the castle. So I just lightly, very loosely, zip tied it in place. Second shelf, Silverhawks. Partly vac metallized plastic, partly expensive, with their Mirage fighter. And then, thanks to Chris Rissmiller, we have Boulder Hill playset, along with some of my childhood originals. That's my childhood Thunderhawk. I was about to say Tomahawk. Childhood Thunderhawk, Raven, and Firefly, and then Chris's Condor. Here's my childhood Millennium Falcon, which you saw me restore a few years back, along with my childhood original cast of The Empire Strikes Back. That Chewbacca is the first Star Wars figure I ever owned. And we have William Kilford's incredible Palatoy Death Star. He was kind enough to donate this to the RetroBlasting archive, and it has a central display place in the studio for that reason. I mean, just a very generous offer. We're going to keep this very safe, and my childhood original action figures are populating it. And it wouldn't be a complete Star Wars display without the Emperor. We have him right here with his dignitary and his royal guards as an entourage coming right out of his vintage Imperial shuttle. And then next to this, just for kicks, we have the Kenner Sherwood Forest playset from the Robin Hood Prince of Thieves line, complete with all of the figures from the line, and Chief Chirpa, because I'm sure he feels like his home has been stolen. All right, up here we have the AT-AT Walker from Kenner. You'll notice that Luke is holding a vintage blue lightsaber, and he's hanging from one of the belts from the survival pack. And why shouldn't he be holding the blue saber? He should have come with one. All right, right here we have the Darth Vader Star Destroyer playset with my childhood bounty hunters populating it, talking to my childhood Darth Vader, because I like having the figures in the playsets and vehicles so that it doesn't look so sparse. And then up here we have the Death Star playset, which you saw me restore a few years back, complete with a dark brown-haired Luke Skywalker about to save Princess Leia from the chasm. All right. We're on the planet Tatooine now. That is the Sears. It was either Sears or JCPenney. I always get those confused. But it's the department store exclusive radio-controlled sandcrawler with the controller at the back behind Luke. Land of the Jawas, already overrun by sand people. and a recently completed droid factory. Now, yesterday I did not have the final parts for this, but now I do. They came in the mail. So I finally have the hoses and the axles. This is a fully complete droid factory. All right, down here we have the Imperial Cruiser with an original Han Solo laser pistol at the back. And we have a Stormtrooper captain who is flanked by two Luke in Stormtrooper disguise, which I thought was kind of funny. But hey, when you put the helmets on them, they look like Stormtroopers, so why not use them? And then we have the Creature Cantina with my custom-made Akmina figure from the holiday special at the bar. And then we have the Cantina Adventure Set, which, yes, Blue Snaggletooth is right there, thanks to Seth Hastings from Plastic Galaxy. And a very nice custom-made vintage Sand Trooper to adorn it. Darth Vader's TIE Fighter with Darth Vader and his subordinate. An extra gold C-3PO with a Droid Factory R2-D2 and the original white X-Wing fighter, along with maple-haired Luke Skywalker, if I can get that to focus, maple-haired Luke Skywalker, and big-head Han Solo. And then the original TIE Fighter with TIE Fighter pilot. Now below that, I get situated here. We have the Empire Strikes Back edition of the laser pistol at the back. We have the Scout Walker, both versions of the Tauntaun, our Hoth heroes, and yes, Luke has a vintage yellow lightsaber because he should have come with a lightsaber. The Snowspeeder, one of the best toys Kenner ever made, and the Rebel Command Center, complete with a custom Major Durlin. And then we have the Hoth Ice Planet playset with the Imperial attack base, but yes, I've populated it with Rebels because there was no reason for Stormtroopers to be in the trenches. That was always the Rebels. There's a Empire Strikes Back stickered laser rifle back there that I've had since I was in high school. And then the turret and Probot playset with Snowtroopers, the Wampa, and the tripod cannon. All right, at the top here, we have the Crystar Crystal Castle that I recently completed. It's a rickety thing. Glad to have it for the upcoming video. And I have some parts left over from another castle that I'll be selling on eBay. So if you're looking for my eBay handle, it's not difficult. It's RetroBlasting. So I don't sell many items on it, but when I do, they'll be up there. So expect to see some Crystar Castle parts online very soon. That's Bravestarr and his team with a complete Fort Kyrium. I just kind of folded up 1/3 and put it behind the middle section to get it all up there. That's Bravestarr. On his left is Tex Hex. On his right is Thunderstick. There's 3030, one of the worst toys ever made by human hands. I'll get to that when I do the Bravestarr special. Secret Wars with the Turbo Cycle, the Doom Cycle. I think back there you can see Spider-Man and Iron Man, and my personal favorite, Baron Zemo. And then we have the GoBots. I had a good collection of GoBots growing up, and then I just kind of had to add a few to it. I was missing characters like, you know, Screwhead and Coptor, but otherwise I had all the main characters, so I was pretty fortunate. And then we have the Ghostbusters Firehouse with Screamin' Mimi from Madballs up there. He was the only Madball I ever had growing up. Got him up there. And then inside I've got my ectoplasm canisters and some of the monsters from the Monsters line. Down one rung, right under the firehouse, we have the original Ghostbusters themselves, and I've outfitted them with some accessories that came with some of the other variants, like the trap, the ecto goggles and the PKE meter. I'm not really interested in the variants, but I really wanted to have the original Ghostbusters outfitted with their stuff. It gives them more to do. Here are the Remco mini monsters and their fold-up playset. I did a video on this a few years ago. Some of those guys glow in the dark, some of them don't. You have to find all the variants if you're OCD about it. And then here are the Filmation Ghostbusters that we did a video on a few years ago as well. I'm still looking for the playset and a few of the other mini vehicles and the bone troller and things like that, but I'll get there. And then here is the Superpower Shelf. We put Batman and Robin in their Batmobile with the Batcopter above them. I do flip their capes up and over to prevent them from wrinkling as they're sitting in the vehicle. So if you're asking yourself why I did that, that's why I did that. Cyborg is there, along with mail-away Clark Kent. I love the way Brainiac's chrome just pops. Down here, it's kind of a catch-all shelf. We have some Inhumanoids. We have Cornelius from Planet of the Apes. Some Batman Brave and the Bold. I have their transforming Batmobile as well. I might do a video on that soon. It's pretty awesome. Some Bucky O'Hare. The original Hardee's California Raisins, which I've had since I was a kid. The cast of Superman the Animated Series, complete with the hard-to-find Lois Lane. And then some Smurfs and the Mego Pocket Heroes of Spider-Man and Green Goblin. These are representative of two of the earliest action figures I had. I had the Spider-Mobile with Spider-Man, Green Goblin, and Hulk. I do have the Spider-Mobile, but it's sealed, and I need to get another Hulk because I lost him a long time ago. Then I have my little Burton sampling here. I have so many Burton Batmobiles and Batwings, I had to choose which versions to put in the case. So I went with Batman Returns just because they were going to be sitting next to the Bat Ski-Mobile. So I have the Bat Missile version of the Batmobile here, along with the Michael Keaton Joker, the Turbojet Batwing, Batman from, I believe, the Dark Knight collection, possibly. Might be Batman Returns. I think that's Thunder Whip Batman or something like that. I can't keep their names straight. And then Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman. And here are where the Thundercats live. I am prepping for the big Thundercats Redux video. So I have acquired a few new faces. I've acquired Linkso and Jaga. And I've got Pumira. I also have Snarf. And that's the newly restored Thunder Tank I did a few months back. And I'll be getting a few more and some more surprises before I do that big feature and put it back online. All right, here are the Sectars. These guys, their destiny is to one day be out of the case. One of the things that's something you should think about when you're displaying things is, you know, careful use of risers, because risers can really help you get more in a case, not just rise up things in the back. So for example, the Spider Flyer right here has one of its wings going underneath the riser for the Dragon Flyer. It helps get them both in a shorter width of an area. Here's the A-Team. Those are the Galoob 5 to 6 inch figures at the back, and then the smaller 3 3/4 inch Galoob van at the front with the pop-off top. That's the 3-stage Gremlin figure set. I've had that since I was a kid. Michael Knight and his talking Knight 2000 from Kenner. RoboCop and the Ultra Police. Still working on getting more of these for an eventual video. Remco's Karate Kid. I still need a large number of these figures and variants. Little Easter egg at the back for you is the Remco Secret of the Ninja back there. He's hiding because he's a ninja. Here are all of my childhood Captain Power figures with their vehicles. I'll be doing a video about this at some point. I still have to get a few pieces for this. And then here is my area for Jason the Wheeled Warriors. It's hard to make these look good unless you have a lot of real estate in your display shelves. I wanted to get them all in there, so I basically just parked them, you know, so they look like a maintenance fleet. But I'm glad they're in the case and not collecting dust. Now down here, we have the entire Buck Rogers figure and vehicle collection. As you saw earlier, the Buck Rogers Command Center is in the storage room, but we'll be doing a video on that in the near future, and you'll see all the different parts of the Buck Rogers toy collection. In the center here, we have the Battlestar Galactica characters. They do not have compatible vehicles, unfortunately, so Starbuck and Adama just have to stand there and be jealous of everybody around them. This is my 80s Star Trek area, dominated by the South Bend Enterprise with the motion picture figures in the middle, the Ertl Star Trek 3 figures on the right, and the Galoob Star Trek Next Generation figures and shuttlecraft on the left. Chuck Norris's Karate Commandos with the Corvette. And Rambo and the Force of Freedom. That survival light back there was given to us by Seth Hastings, and I thought when I put it in there, it really made this display pop, so that just in case people didn't know what that was, that would tell them, hey, this is Rambo. We're still missing a few accessories for a few of the figures, and we are missing, I think, 2 of the figures total for that line. Bottom shelf, the back row is dominated by a mint set of Defenders of the Earth, which I can't take out, so I'm going to be looking for those figures at some point to do a video about, because I'm not going to rip those off a card just for a video. The Visionaries, these are the core Visionaries. I still need to get the vehicles and some of the pilots, but these are the 8 core Visionaries with all their accessories. The Centurions, Power Extreme. These are the core figures. I think I have one of the suits that they have, but for now, this is fine. I'm not really into the Centurion suits anyway. I just wanted the main characters. Tron. Now, this is a mix of Tomy and NECA, but I did that because I wanted to have sort of a virtual RAM and, or is it RAM or ROM? I can't remember. Whatever. And then I wanted to have Sark in his racing look. And then last but not least, we have the Bionic Six. Now the Bionic Six have their own shelf because they have this huge modular playset, which is really cool. LJN did a nice job on that. And of course they have their vehicles, the mule van and the ATV and the motorcycle. Here are all the villains of Bionic Six. Scarab and Glove and then here's the family with Fluffy. So yeah, this took about a week or more, but maybe 2 weeks to get everything out and put in all the shelves. But I hope this kind of gives you an idea of what we go through to get this studio up and running. It's a fun place to be, but I won't lie, you know, it does take a lot of discipline to keep it clean, to keep it organized, to keep it from turning into, you know, a total mess. But it is really nice to have everything at my fingertips when I'm working on a video. You know, everything that I need for the most part is going to be right here. and it really has saved us a lot of time when it comes to working on these videos. I don't have to bin dive nearly as much as I used to. Eventually I'll have to make some decisions as new collections come in of different lines that aren't represented here. You know, like I don't have things like supernaturals or muscles or things like that. I mean, that could change. And there's other lines I have that I haven't even put out, like Zybots. Not for any particular reason, except I just don't have the room. Because that's the other thing you want. You want it to look nice. You don't want it to look, you know, junky. Because when I come down here, the idea is that this is a place of calm. It's a place where I can unwind. It's a place where I can think and be creative. So the last thing I want is to come down here and it just look like junk. You know, it just look like a big junk store. So that is the RetroBlasting Studio. I hope this has been fun. I know it's been long, but it's kind of the way I wanted to do it. Just kind of get it all done in one fell swoop, and you kind of know the geography of where we are. And so thanks for watching this. And we'll see you on the next video.